Hello guys, this is Omega Low again. It's been a while since I made my last video, but today I decided to make a new video and actually going over certain basics and essentials for PvP that many people do not know, not understand, or things that you generally just want to know if you intend to PvP. Certain things I was going to go over in this video is keybinds, controls, certain advantages, things you should not do, and things you should certainly be doing if you intend to either not die instantly or win a game and eventually play competitively at some point. Obviously, one person can't know everything. I might not be mentioning everything. I just have small notes. I'll go over a few points that I find that are very important that people should generally know and acknowledge and use for their advantage to do better in PvP. This is mainly from a tactical standpoint. As an escort player, I'm not really into that science gameplay just yet, and I probably will never be. There's a project I'm working on, but I probably will never be. I'll never be a supporter, and so you have to see it as a perspective that I'm this offensive player in the team, and I'll tell my perspective from that. So if you wish to see the other side of the medal, like science playstyle, there are other people that will know it better than me. I'll also try to go over that part, but probably I'll not be able to do that as good as some others might be able to. Alright, so basically I was gonna start with keybinds, because this is a big topic in this game. Keybinds. So you just got into PvP from PvE from nowhere. Generally what you want is proper keybind layout. So many people just click their abilities, they fly around, and then they click what they want and eventually just get lost and they can't keep up. So the basic definition of a keybind is a wise setup for your bindings. For example, hold together. I have on a mouse key that's easily accessible to trigger my only bridge official and my competitive engines, which is easily triggered, which is easily accessible throughout combat. Aim, I have like these here, the DPRM, alpha, everything accessible and manual control. But that's not the main definition of a keybind. I have the lazy variant, which is just a spacebar bind that basically allows me to go through the row 7 in this case of my buffs by just spamming spacebar like a madman. And there are better options, and I actually link one in the description. SOB made a good video about that one, where he goes over a tool that allows you to create your own keybind file and utilize it as you please. That's a very effective way of doing it, and I'm not going to explain it too long, trying to keep the video as short as possible. But he went over it, and I'll link the video and you should definitely check it out. Alright, but the main point is set up your keybinds in an accessible way. That is very important. Like, you know, for example, this is a major buff. I want manual control over it. I don't have that many keys. I have it on Shift R. These are close together. Also, if you use pallet maneuvers, this warp is not really helping. If you use pallet maneuvers, you have the option to double tap for them. What I suggest you do is do something like Shift and then W, for example, or whatever it is. In that case, I press Shift A to do a roll to the left, which is far more effective. But that's not the main thing. The main thing in keybind is actually what you can find here. Certain things that help. As I said, the pallet maneuver, you just set the Shift key. Basically, the key you set here is the key additionally to WASD in this case, which pallet maneuver you want to do. So I held Shift W, I'll do the forward. I do Shift S, I'll do the backward. I hate double tap, nobody wants to do that. I just find it totally impractical. But now here's the main thing. Many escort pilots struggle to hit their targets. They fly with WASD, try to align their targeting with dual heavy cannons. Almost impossible to fly like this. Now check this out. I do not know why such a low amount of people in the PvP community talk about this. I haven't really seen a video where somebody really goes over this one thing. But listen, if you ever play escorts in PvP, this is a must-have. You will not be playing escorts without this little trick. So, if you go to keybinds, you have basically all these controls here and this here. Camera turn to face. I set it to F Some people use F2 interaction. On default, it's left and right click at the same time. I've set it to F. However, let me just show you what it does. It's a key you have to hold in order to trigger, so it's not a switch. So it's something you should be able to hold all the time. Let me just engage these spheres and see, I can, as long as I hold this key, I control with my mouse. And that way it's easy for me to align to the target and keep going. I can easily align and terminate my target. I can turn around, kneel lock, turn around, fire, and so on. And this obviously works against players as well. Probes aren't the most maneuverable targets, but generally this works against players. The faster they are, the harder it gets. But with WASD, well, you have no chance. With that, you stand a fighting chance and might give them a really hard time. Basically, somebody with this keybind and mastering it, somebody who's flying WASD with dual heavy cannons does have no chance. Of course, you have the scrubs that fly single cannons, which will prevail in a 1v1 every time. So when you see that, bring your own single cannons. That's why I have them, just in case. They work no matter what. You don't have to be piloting genius, but if you want to be prevailing with dual heavy cannons, that is an essential keybind. Alright, that's the first key of keybind. Now the next thing I was gonna go over is combat log. What many people like to do during a parse, they start into a match, many from PvE know this, but you want to do combat log. Basically, you do this by typing either /combatlog1, or you can go ahead and bind a key manually by typing /bind. Then a key is, I have it on F10, so in this case F10, but you can have it like on O or whatever. I have mine on F10 to start a combat log, so in this case I'll just go O, combat log 1. You enter this, and every time you hit O, your combat log will start reading. Then you can do the same with combat log 0, or just type combat log 0. This will stop the combat log. You will obviously need a parser like SDO combat meter or the CLR combat log reader. They obviously work both just the same way, and let you just elaborate your damage output, what your team efforts, the heals, and just let you assess what a game does, who does the most, and what they run. You fight evil grandpers like all of us do. You don't know what they run in terms of heals. You're just a little bit curious. A parse will just show you. You can just check the parse. You see what kind of damage dealers and heals they have. Obviously, it doesn't tell you everything, but if you understand reading logs, you can read most things out of a log, and it also shows you who does what damage. You can say, for example, your dogfighter, there's this Vapor. He might do much more burst than you, but throughout the combat, you might do 5 times more damage than he will. And it does matter. Obviously, a Vapor might do more burst, but putting the pressure on the enemy is also a very helpful thing in the game. Alright. Other control areas. This is a major one. So, say you just go into a game. Say I'm into a match with evil grandpers. They're a good example because they're team players. And I want to bind a key to assist them or target some weakling. So, say Tililu, the team leader, he's calling targets. In that case, I would type /bind. X is the optimal thing. X assist. Assist is if you want to target that person's target. Works on allies and enemies. So Tililu, right? And every time I hit X, I get the target he has at this very moment. So this is great for team play, but if you're a healer, for example, and you have the strongest enemy damage dealer on that keybind, you hit X and their target, in that case your teammate, will immediately become into your lock and you'll be able to heal them, which is extremely effective. Or there's some weakling in the enemy team, say Bang, the scrub, who thinks he can kill everybody, and KDF. And, well, in that case, /bind X, target Bang, or target and Vec, because he also sucks, or target Matt, or this loser, I don't know who that is, but you get the point. Every time you hit X, if that person is available to lock, he's not cloaked, he's within range of your sensors, immediately get a lock on him. If there's a weak point in the enemy team, say MT, I know his tunes have different names, and he does a lot of damage, but we all know he's very squishy. You spam X basically all the time, and the moment he gets out of cloak, you have him unlocked, you go straight after him, try to get him back to wherever he came from, so he can leave your team in peace. So if I were you, I would always utilize this. Have the most threatening enemies as a keybind, and have your calling ally as a keybind to make is core in PvP. Sure, if you're solo, you cannot do that much, but you can still use the keybind. You see a powerful ally, a system. You see you have a major damage dealer, you're on a science, a system. A good subnuke can be a major difference, and subnukes everything nowadays. You have a powerful tactical system, always go on their target, and your team stands a much better fighting chance. And same if you keep the enemy threatening enemy under pressure with that keybind as well. Alright, little basics. I was gonna go over little basics. Things that people should understand when building a ship. I know I already made a build video, but I just wanted to mention this again. That right now, what you want on almost every build is this competitive 3-piece. You don't necessarily have to run warp core, you can also run a different deflector and then a different warp core, as long as you run 3 set pieces. Some may not agree on here, it depends on how tanky you have to be. If you're a healer, you probably not run the 3-piece, because you're tanky as fuck anyway. But what this does, basically, it gives you bonus energy damage resistance for 1.5 seconds every time you get hit. But all the time. You stack it up, you get plus 25 additionally, which is plus 40 bonus damage resistance. Doesn't mean a lot, just hearing it, right? So it's basically like category 2. It has a different stacking mechanic than your irregular all damage resistance like on this conductive RCS. So basically this drone is hitting me, and you can see how my resistance are going up. This is basically this set. So as you can see, 79.2%, almost 80% resistances temporarily, just because of the set. This set just propelled me to almost 80% resistances. This is just the set, and it's incredibly powerful. It really helps, guys, it really does, and you will want to run it if you're not the tankiest ship ever. On almost any tactical build, I would suggest running it. Obviously, there are people that go off meta, that run different things, but if you struggle with survivability, that is definitely something you want to check out. Next story, the deflector. This is the new fleet deflector. I didn't have it on my build video. I obviously mentioned it, and I got it now. I got it actually a few weeks ago. Helped some other people getting it. The invites didn't find an end. As you know, multiple versions of it, I actually can't access the other one I have right now. But for PvP, I generally suggest a preservation, because it gives you more HP. The other one gives you 1% more shield penetration and a little bit more actual crit chance, I believe 0.8%. It's not a major deal. You probably want that more HP. It's generally the better choice. Whether or not you go for Control X or Drain X, that's up to you. I prefer the Drain X. Control X is also totally adequate. And yeah, it's just a great deflector. A lot of people say it's a great deflector. It's a great deflector. If you want to do damage, you run the deflector. It's crit chance, crit severity. It's a great deflector overall, and it basically 2 locators, 2 exploiters when you're at max HP, which in PvP you usually are able to maintain most of the time if you know how to fly, if you don't die all the time. Being at full HP isn't really something hard to accomplish. So yeah, check it out. And if you're desperate for an invite to fleet holding, I can assist with that. Just don't expect too much. I'm just still a human, but message me in game or whatever on Discord, and I'll shoot you an invite or a fleet holding, since it obviously takes your fleet's provisions for this. It's dirt cheap. It's like 15,000 fleet credits, and lithium it's actually a bit less, but I don't remember the exact number. But this is definitely great to have. It's cheap, accessible, and you definitely want to have it on your ship. Alright, you don't know what to run. Should I run Anti-Proton? Should I run Disruptor? Totally up to you. In the long run, Disruptors are probably a bit better, but it's only because of the beauty here. Current Disruptor. But generally, don't listen to what people say. If you love Polar Run, go fucking Polar Run. If you like Tetrian, go Tetrian. If you build your ship properly, it will do a crap load of damage no matter what damage type you go with. You might as well go, you know, Phaser. Phaser is actually quite solid. Right now, I would say top this Disruptor, Anti-Proton, Phaser. Some people prefer anti-proton over disruptor, but overall disruptor has the edge. It's just, you know, number crunching will show you that disruptor with a Terran disruptor has the edge, and that sets like the Martok set do obviously be disruptor, and they buff each other up, and you have better sources for Cat 2 damage, and that's just a fact. If you're a total DPS hunter, you go disruptor if you just want the damage. If you want burst and you are not really sensitive, you might want anti-proton with like crit damage times 3 pen, crit damage times 4, maybe you want more accuracy. It's up to you. It depends on your build. Like, if your accuracy is 80 plus the rating down here, you're more open for options. Since this console came out, there are more options for modifiers. You don't necessarily need accuracy, especially when you use like attack pattern, lambda, and other sources of accuracy. Okay, experimental weapons. Right now, I'm saying there's only 4 solid options of what you can slot in here. So the one you get when you buy a regular escort, the hyper-excited stream projector, whatever it was, is crap. It's useless. You don't want it. You might as well not use any experimental weapon instead of that one. It drains energy, weapon energy, it does no damage. If that's the only one you have, don't use any. Then there is the railgun from the allied escorts. Actually, what many people don't know is that the fleet one also comes with it. So if you're not willing to pay Zen, you might as well just pick up the fleet variant for 5 fleet ship modules and get it that way. It's definitely worth it if you're not willing to pay for this one. The next viable one is the proton charge from the Sister's escort. Probably the best choice for PvE. I personally don't like it for PvP. It's random target. It is pretty slow. It can get some really nice hits, but it's just too slow. And I generally want to hit my target with everything I've got at the same time. And that's where this one comes into play. It's from the Shuktin Zaketi escort, which is currently dirt cheap. If you really want one of these, pick it up right now. It's like 175 million. Really compelling deal. Yeah, so basically this is the best one you have. There's the answer. It's just too damn good. It does so much damage. Just check it out for yourself. It hits 4 times. It does fire twice, and it does split damage. So you get every hit does double damage. You get 2 numbers. That's 4 every 3 seconds, and every single of those numbers I've gone as high as 20k. So I literally hit people with this or 80k if they're weak enough. It's insane, and it's every 3 seconds. It's the fastest firing kinda. I believe I don't think there's any that fires every 2 seconds. I think there are other like 4 seconds, then there's one for 8 seconds. 3 seconds is actually the fastest as far as I remember. The Iron Stream might be 2 seconds. I'm not really sure anymore. But let's go to the next. What I just explained earlier with the keybind on the FP, like with this camera to interface. Please, you are an escorts. We really want that. You really want that. It might be awkward at the start, but I use my mouse to aim, leaving me a lot of more options, so I can concentrate much less on the piloting. I don't need to waste my WASD for piloting, which is really helpful, allowing me to use it for keybinds like this and this and whatnot. Like I have Shift E, very awkward keybind, might sound like it, but with this control, it is easy to do. And what I was gonna go over now is auto fire. Many people don't understand. This game is laggy. If you spam spacebar like a madman, these weapons will not trigger at the same time. They will trigger one after another. If you have trouble hitting your enemies because your weapons don't fire at the same time, auto fire might do the trick. There's no reason not to use it. You fire one weapon, all others start firing at the same time. It's just a little handy tip. Check it out, try it out. Maybe you think it's not a good idea. I've been using it and I've been doing quite well, and I think auto fire is something you should definitely be running on an escort of cannons. Consumables. Next point. Many people are like, oh, what's this buff on this bar, like these, or Javanite, or these, you know. I'll just quickly introduce, just very quick, Javanite. You craft those, you're lazy, like me, you buy them on the exchange for about 60,000 each. They give you 100 capacity, which translates to, as far as I remember, 30% more hold capacity. Really nice buff. Just a clicky when you think you have a more tough fight. You hit this one, you can use it from the inventory. Totally worth it, dirt cheap, no reason not to use it. Then there's these. They give a little buff to either durability, science abilities and resistance, or damage. These are 2,500 fleet credits each on the starbase. So you get a full stack of 10 of each for 75,000 fleet credits. Each of them lasts 4 hours. So you get 40 hours of these buffs. Minor, but they give you, like, I'd say a 3-4% edge over people that do not use this. Maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, depending on who your enemy is. For a really negligible price for a really long duration. It's just, you know, if you're in a fleet, they have it. Go with it. Then, competitive consumables, which I'll go over quite quick as well. You have these. These are the short ones. The status shell is arguable. It can get nuked away, so it's not awesome. Like, if you want to troll somebody, you just stand still, you hit this button, you're probably not gonna die for the next 10 seconds. Doesn't matter who it is, because they're not gonna throw like 600,000 damage through you. They just don't want to do that. So it's like, if you're really trying to screw with somebody, look at more. It's a fun little one, probably not really that useful. Instant repair. Look, that's something I just don't see why you would use it. You are in a combat situation, unless you're in Ker'rat. You're in a combat situation arena, you get killed, you hit that thing, you're back, your buffs aren't there, the people, your enemies are still around. They're just gonna kill you again. You give them a free point. At this point, you might run Blaze of Glory. By the way, don't run Blaze of Glory. If you die with Blaze of Glory in arena, you get the enemy a free point. Don't do that. That's insane. You should get banned if you do. Alright, long buffs. There's basically only two I would use, which is the whole one and the shield one. Probably the shield one is actually a bit more effective, unless you're crap shield tank. But basically this gives you a huge crap ton of shield capacity and like prevents normal damage from bleeding through shields. This does not stop shield penetration altogether, but if I hit you with a cannon and your shields are like covariant and they say they let through 10% damage, this will neglect it and basically eliminate 10% shield bleed through. It's a nice little one. You can pick either of these, you can have both. I have both. I pick depending on the situation. It's just my move basically there. And of these, I generally don't suggest wasting a dilithium on these ones. They're the most expensive and they do almost nothing. These two are the most important. Alright, that's the consumables. Just, you know, little things, they all stack up. And that's the thing. Synergy is the essence of PvP. Team play and synergy, as well as obviously your gear and your experience and your piloting. But these are the main things you want to care about. And everything that synergizes well with your build. Whole HP obviously does synergize well with your build. No point not running it unless you're space poor like some other people. Dragon. Yeah. Alright. Next thing I was going to mention is you have a lot of people that try to run engineers and do damage, okay? I'm honest here, guys. If you make an engineer character, you're not useless by any means, but you will not be the damaging role. A science and a tactical will be much better at that, no matter what you do. An engineer will never be able to keep up in that regard. And the best thing you can do on an engineer to help your team, guys, build an unkillable healer. I'm saying build a zombie tank. Build a solid healer. Help your team. Don't die. Don't feed the enemy points. Be a real coin in your team and heal them. Heal the crap out of them. And you're just gonna be hated so much. You're gonna be hated more than any killer in this game, because healing is the most effective way to piss people off. I speak out of experience. So guys, engineer, act like one. Alright, then in PvP, if you make a ship, so many people I see tactical, escorts, glass cannons. They're glass cannons. They fly around, their damage might be okay, not even that great, but their durability is like, you look at them, they die. You just point at them and they're dead. And there's so many ways to counteract this. So, first off, run defensive traits. Ablative Shell, Biotech Patch, Secret Command Codes. These three you basically want to run most of the time. They help. This Protomatter, Conduit, Rep trait, run it on any build, it doesn't matter. You run this thing. It's too damn good. If you think it's not good, run it. It's awesome. Miracle Worker, the ultimate choice right now. For any build there is. Your healer, Miracle Worker. Your science support, Miracle Worker. Your tech, Miracle Worker. It doesn't fucking matter what you run. You want this spec tree. It's just too good to not run. I'm not going to go over why exactly. You have cat 2 damage, you get more heal, more resistance. It's just the awesome skill tree that should be banned. They won't. It's just great. It's not OP actually, but it's better than the others for the most part. Alright, so just to mention, tank. You make a ship, you try to survive first, and then you try to squeeze damage into your build. You do not have to be a tank, but you have to be survivable. Don't die by just having enemies look at you. If you survive, you cannot do damage when you are dead. Remember that. Next thing, in PvP, use common sense. Use common sense, please, guys. You see an enemy healer, you're not gonna go for the healer. You will never be able to kill that healer. You're gonna go for the tacticals. You're gonna go for the escorts. You try to lure them away from the healer. You try to provoke them to fly away. Make logical decisions. Don't just shoot around. That's not gonna win you the game. Go for weak targets, but don't puck stomp. If you're in a pre-mate, try to kill the harder targets first. If you're a really good player, try to kill the harder targets. If you see you can't handle it, you can still go for the pucks, but at least try to kill the harder targets. And if that doesn't work, go for the easier targets, but do not waste your time trying to break a healer if there's so many other targets that are killable. That's more of an arena rule. If you're in Ker'rat, by all means, kill the zombie tanks. Kill those zombie tanks. I mean, whatever it takes, guys. Just blow them up. But please, use sense when you make your attack. Use sense when you make your defense. Stick together. Don't just fly in there and die for no reason. There's no point in doing that. I'm not saying you have to beat a pre-mate on your own and you didn't do it because you suck and you didn't use common sense. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying is a lot of people just don't really think when they attack. I fight people nowadays, they request 1v1s or they do this, or you see their builds, and that's where common sense matters the most in your build. And they run sets, they do roleplay on a PvP build. Roleplay on a PvP build. Guys, you're not gonna roleplay in PvP. I mean, sure you can do that, but it's not gonna yield you great results. I'm just saying. When you make a build, you better ask twice. We have a Discord, we have an OPVP channel in the game. There's no reason why you wouldn't be asking first before you make a build. And oh, why do I die so quick? I have guys, they are like, why do I die so quick? Why do tacticals do much damage? Tacticals are overpowered. Yes, if you're a glass cannon, if you're made of paper, if you're just thinking I have a lot of HP and resistance and I'm an engineer, that's why I can't die, or I'm not supposed to die, you think wrong. No damage in this game right now is OP. You might see me go through people, they just die in instants. That's not the average. But if the damage of rapid fire would be reduced, there's a lot of players in this game that negate this damage and they're next to unkillable already. So just adapt your build, and once you have a proper build set up, these things won't be a problem to you. So use sense, ask people, and get a proper build, and then utilize your knowledge in combat. And try to make a build that makes sense. Don't run 3 emergency power abilities. Don't run 3 attack patterns, and don't run Aux the Bat build and then have double copies. I've seen all these things. There's just, facepalm, guys. Facepalm. You don't... Look, I'm gonna summarize. You have a shared cooldown on attack patterns. If you run more than 2, they're gonna overlap and you'll lose an ability. If you run an Aux the Bat build, you have a cooldown mitigation already built into your ship. It is not going to work if you go ahead and squeeze in double copies because mitigate cooldown and then run Aux the Bat to mitigate cooldown. That makes no sense. and it's not going to work out well. You effectively waste bridge officer slots, and the same goes for 3 emergency power abilities. Some people might argue I like to have the choice, but make the choice when you make the build, and in combat you have to pick between 2. I usually use weapons and then engines, but please guys, use some sense when you make your build and you will be much more successful. And if you don't know for sure, you're always welcome to us, because we're not complete retards, just half. Debuff behavior. This is a pretty big deal. When you go for an enemy, go for the debuff target. Go for the target your science is going for. See, they're sub-nuked, they're sitting ducks, they're dead in an instant when you hit them hard. When you see your enemies debuffed quite bad, you need to keep an eye on those things. You just need to keep an eye on the enemy buff bar, and also keep an eye on the debuffs, and you will have to exploit their weaknesses and strengths. And that's also a major deal. You cannot do that much in terms of that, but keeping out an eye for sub-nukes if you're in a random team, keeping an eye for sensor scans, trying to go for the vulnerable target is definitely a very successful method of killing targets. And if you're in a pre-made, you should obviously be knowing this one. Buff behavior, same story. You see this icon, this little icon. Okay, unless you're in a pre-made, going for people with that icon is pointless. Their resistance is going through the roof so much that the damage you will do to them is negligible. You can still kill them when they're low HP, but if they're at 100% HP and you see this icon, you might not want to go for them. If you're a science and you see this icon on somebody, you do not want to spam your holds. You do not want to try to hold them, because it makes them immune. That's a core. Your science, you want to wait until Omega runs out. You want to make them waste their science team. You want them to be as vulnerable as possible, and then hit them with everything you've got when their buffs aren't available, when they're the most vulnerable. That is a very important situation. This mostly applies to science, but as a tactical, you always want to watch out for these as well, because there's a lot of buffs that make an enemy almost unkillable, and why waste your time killing an unkillable target on your own? Obviously, there's always the exceptions, but generally, you see a guy with a DPRM up, you go for somebody else and come back at them like after 10 seconds when you know it's over. Alright. Immunities. Guys, I know a lot of people that run immunities like madmen, and then they're surprised because they die instantly. I generally do not run any immunity on this anymore, because it's more of an actual punishment to yourself than anything else. This trait is the main reason for that. You get hit by an tactical while your immunity is up, they get this buff, you come off the immunity, you're dead. Most of the time. They get such a massive buff that your armor penetration is probably going to negate all your resistances. Put it into the negative, and you get so much damage that you die quite quickly. The only immunity I use is pilot maneuvers and occasionally rock and roll. Look, I use rock and roll, somebody's going after me, he gets the spam buff. Oh no, pilot maneuver. I'm still immune. Pilot maneuvers are not affected by immunity lockouts. It doesn't work the other way around. You cannot do pilot maneuver and then rock and roll. It works the other way around. Little trick might help you now and then. Just a little tip. But the pilot tree immunity is, a risk for yourself. And the one in this one here, the stabilizing phase array, guys, you might as well just kill yourself. Because these, that will give you 3 seconds, and then the enemy comes back and does 3 times more damage against you. You might as well just not run it right there at all. It used to be very great, but since this Unshaken Resolve is being wildly used, don't do it. Just don't. Doesn't help anybody, and just die too quick. Alright. So, another major one. We have this little thing here. Some people call it chat, I call it the shit box, because it's usually full of shit. But if you're in a team, it might contain some useful information. I'm just saying, you can call people on a Keybinds. I'm not on a team right now. The certain Keybinds, keybind tools, you have a keybind that if you press a button, instantly chat pops up who you're targeting. I do that frequently, often, even on random games. And if you read the chat, you see who I'm going for. I'm a massive damage dealer, and you might want to help me so we can kill the enemies more effectively. Read the team chat. Some people call sub nuke. Some people need heals. You know, if you're a healer, you might keep an eye on that. If you're, you know, a science, you see with a tactical calls an alpha, he calls a target, you might want to sub nuke the target so that tactical has a much easier time. Or you are tactical and you see the science is preparing a sub nuke and you check where the science is going for and attack that target as well. That's little things. Read the team chat, work with your team, and your success is probably much higher. Things that might make a lot of sense to a lot of people watching this video, but to a lot of people that are new to PvP or that just aren't that smart, might elaborate it twice. I'm just saying. And if you know somebody who might demand such advice, you know, share the video. I need those views, I need the YouTube money. I'm not even monetizing my videos. Doesn't matter, but I appreciate any view I get just for the sake of being able to help people. I hope this is helpful to you guys. Like, this is a video I plan to make actually over 2 weeks. I just didn't get to it until now. And generally, this is like a little rundown on the most important PvP facts that you might just want to, you know, think about and use for your own good. Alright, I'm not done yet though. I'm gonna go over the mods or weapons. Sudden changes. I've never been that great at making, you know, transitions that make a lot of sense, but I'll put in the description timestamps so you can just, you know, go with them bit by bit. This will probably be a longer video, so I'll do that. It should have maybe done that at the beginning of the video, but whatever. Okay guys, mods on weapons. Obviously you have the accuracy mod that gives you +10 accuracy per modifier and is a great one to have. You struggle hitting your target, you might want to run accuracy. I have accuracy weapons in my inventory just in case, you know, if there's the harder hit targets. Usually I get a round of damage times 3. Then you have crit hit, 2% crit chance on that particular weapon. Totally useless, don't use it, thank you very much. Crit damage, 20% more crit damage on that particular weapon. Definitely nice to have. One of the best mods there is, out of the 3 there is. And definitely a solid option for damage. I mean, crit damage you can't go wrong with. Doesn't matter what you run. If you're in a tactical, damage mod comes eventually more viable, especially on feds. If you're a science and you want to do like cannon build, you go crit damage generally. Like on a tactical, damage and crit damage are about equally good. On anything else, you usually go crit damage. That's just the mathematical result. Damage. Damage is 3% final damage on their weapon. Final damage multiplies on top of Cat 1 and Cat 2, if you want to know what that is. If I don't forget, I will link the Reddit post in the description that explains categories of damage, which is something you should definitely watch. I might make a video separate on these things, but Snipey already made one, and that Reddit post is really detailed, basically explaining what different damage types there is, saying vulnerability locators is Cat 1, so they're not actually that great of damage dealers supply, and Alpha is Cat 2, which is definitely a great contributor, and then you have traits that are Cat 1, Cat 2, and that list is, there's a list that usually shows which is what, which is quite good. But final damage is the best of them all. Weapon power is final damage, and damage is final damage. In that case, I mean the modifier. And in this case, this weapon does have, let me think, 15% final damage modifier. 15% that goes on top of everything else I'm gonna throw at this. Let me explain why. Damage mod is 3%. I have 9% through that. The ACDM mod, what many people do not know, is +10 accuracy and 2 damage mods, which is a big differentiator between ultra rare and epic weapons. One of the main reasons you want to generally epic out weapons first, because the damage is great from that mod. You get 6% final damage. It's like 2 damage and accuracy. You get accuracy, damage times 2. It's a nice mod. The epic mod is definitely neat. You want to have it. Final mod I'm gonna talk about is Pen. There is the mods Rapid and Over and Snare. They're all totally unreliable. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody unless you do it for the lulz build. And Rapid does like interrupt your firing cycles. Over is totally unreliable, and Snare doesn't stack, only 5%. It's not worth it. So pen is definitely the best options out of these custom only, like, you know, the unique mods. Pen basically gives you an effective 10 armor penetration, ignoring 10 damage resist of the enemy, and making your damage against your hull noticeably stronger. Probably about 5%, you know, some brew, depending on how buffed up they are, 3 to 5% more damage against them. If they're already heavily debuffed, you notice it much more. So in that case, it might be even up to 10%. So the pen mod is, depending on the situations, very good. And a pre-med situation where with science debuffing your enemy, pen is definitely something you want to have on your weapons. It's a little contributor that stacks up with everything else there is, and definitely making your enemy go poof quite quick. Alright. You want to balance high accuracy with damage. In PvP, if you miss your targets, you don't do damage. So just try to have a 120 accuracy. Like, I have 91.5, alright, I slammed a pretty high uptime of the accuracy batteries, so I'm hitting quite a lot, and as I said, if I don't, I have weapons that will do it for me. So if you have like 100 accuracy, there's no exact need for accuracy mods on your weapons. Alright, there's that. Situational awareness. Know your enemy. Fly around and shoot and die, you know, doesn't really help you. I usually fly around and I always know that I might get hit by a vapor. You keep an eye out, you keep an eye on the minimap, you keep an eye on everything. It doesn't matter how hard it sounds, it is possible. You keep an eye on buffs, you keep an eye on every single thing on the map, because everything bit matters. And situational awareness, keeping an eye on the enemy, being extremely careful, and try to be behind your enemy and not in front of them. You know, people attack me thinking they can outgun me and out-tank me, which doesn't work half the time, more than half the time, and they die and I don't. Most people shouldn't pick a front fight with an escort. It just doesn't make any sense, you know. Use your senses, try to do a wise approach, try to fly like a pro. Just kidding, we're all noobs. But, you know, keep an eye out there and definitely pay attention. And, you know, don't AFK mirror inversion, it's fucking mean. I hate it, it's the reason I don't do it, but probably do it anyway. So, go screw yourself. Alright. So, slow ships. Many people in this game like to run slow ships. And I'm gonna say, if you wanna be competitive, they're bad. If you're slow, you're not gonna do much in a competitive scenario. You can obviously have fun in slow ships, no question about that. The Vengeance, the great ship, can be great. But you wanna be competitive, it's not gonna work. Just a little hint. Some people might tell me the opposite, but again, I'm willing to prove my point. You know, with facts, with deeds, with actual action, and I'm saying slow ships aren't competitive. Unless you're a healer, obviously, then you're gonna be fine, because there is not exactly many fast healers. And to round things up, I'm gonna tell you, be flexible. Be flexible in PvP. Don't be like some other guys I know, some guys you may know, that they come a build, they post a build, they ask you about your opinion on the build, and you're gonna tell them your opinion about their build, and they're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna work on this build, and the next day they're gonna post another build saying I'm working on another build. That's not flexibility, that's bullcrap. What I'm saying is, take advice into account. Try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And think about who you collect your input from. I find people that have so bad builds because they take their advice from Ker'rat heroes. People that don't know how to PvP. I'm fucking honest right now, guys. There are people in Ker'rat, they don't know what they're talking about. They stand no chance in arena. I fly around at Ker'rat, occasionally blow up a KDF if they even can, and think they're good PvPers. Don't take your advice from them. If you want professional advice, go to the Discord that I'm gonna link below. Go to OPVP, although we also have a few noobs in there. Talk to me, maybe. I mean, in tactical situations, I'll probably be able to help you. I'm a scrub myself, but I think I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to tactical. Science, there are other people I would suggest. And engineering, like healing stuff, there's also other people I suggest. But I would say, when it comes to tactical, I know my stuff. About be flexible, take advice into account. Don't be some guy who's like, no, my build is great, I'm doing fine, even though you're not, because we all know there are guys who are like that and they're not doing great at all. And they would do themselves a favor if they would actually listen, because they have such a potential and they're not using it. They're wasting it due to their own ignorance, and it doesn't help them, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help the community of PvP, and it doesn't end up helping anybody. Even I'm taking advice or hints from people. I'm like, oh, actually, that might be a solid idea. I'm actually working on several things right now that might end up very mean, and you guys are gonna hate me even more for that. And I'm totally looking forward to it. Just wait up. Just wait up. But yeah, be flexible. Test your stuff. Test your builds. See what they do. Like, if it doesn't work, try something else. Take your advice from good people. And you know, like 2-3 days ago, I helped some guy. And he had a lot of things at his disposal, but he didn't really use the right things. I gave him a few little tips here and there, most of which I actually mentioned in this video, and he happened to be 3 times better afterwards. And that is not even an exaggeration. He did far better just with some advice. Advice is, you know, knowledge is power, guys. Knowledge is power. EG knows that. That's why they don't share their knowledge. Scrubs. I hope you guys are watching. I love you guys. Just saying. Keeping too many secrets, not good for the PvP community. Don't share your secrets. It's fun to figure out things yourself. And that's also something. Do not only rely on information that's already out there. Make your own stuff, you know, figure out your own ways of playing the game, which is totally fine. But if you try to be competitive, you have to obey the meta, which many people don't want to do. And if they don't, well, you see the results every day. But that's that. On a little side note, I actually tried to do some noise reduction, so tell me how the audio quality is on this video, just in the comments or something. I'm just a bit curious. I'll probably make more videos. I might actually do a few regarding PvE, hate comments incoming. Yeah, but PvE just has a larger audience and there isn't actually that much you can say about PvP. I'll definitely make more PvP videos. I might actually make a few gameplay videos if you guys want that. Yeah, and I might actually do more build videos, maybe different approaches. I'll definitely try to get more input from other players. Maybe I'll make some videos about regarding science and stuff when I'm confident enough regarding that. I need to collect more inputs, you know, so I don't want to spread misinformation because that's not good. I'm really good with my tacticals, so I can't really fuck that up. But like with the other two, I'm not as confident as I wish I was. So yeah, guys, that's that. This is a pretty long video, but I tried to provide as much information as possible in one package. As I said, I'll probably do timestamps, so you have it, like, you know, you can share certain parts of the actual video. I'll probably have a few links in the description, like, you know, the tool video from Sub with the Keybinds, the Reddit link with the damage categories, and the video from Snipey where he goes over that. And yeah, that's that. And well then, I thank you for watching. I mean, again, it's been about 3 weeks since my last video, and I'll definitely keep up the videos. I actually will move next month, so which means my current, you know, time's quite limited in regard of this for different reasons, and then I might be able to do much more, upload much faster, and we'll see if I will even bother increasing the quality, you know, more video editing, not just rambling around, and, you know, getting more to the point, having a more collected video. But yeah, definitely guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like it, like it. If you don't, fuck you and hate it and tell me to fuck off. And I appreciate criticism, right? I don't mind, I don't like hate, but if you guys really think there's something specific I could do better, or if you think I spread misinformation, or if you think there's something I should definitely bring up, don't hesitate to tell me. I'll definitely take it into account. I might make a video just in single things if it helps the community, because I definitely want this PvP community to strive. So definitely, yeah, thanks, and I'll see you around.